All right, so welcome to my panel about the art of crafting. We will learn how to make props, armors, and anything like that, because it's much easier than you think, actually. So, hello, my name is Matthias. You can call me Matt. I am from Belgium, the country of fries, beer, waffles, basically anything unhealthy. I'm a manager at cosplayshop.be as well. I mentioned them because the materials you will be using very soon are from them as well. I'm an international cosplayer, which means I basically live and sleep at events. I love crafting complicated stuff. And also, I am yapping here, but if you have a question, you can just put your hand in the air and I will reply to your question immediately. You don't have to wait till the end of the panel. Oh, there we go. So I talked about cosplayshop.be. I'm pretty sure you can buy foam in other stores as well in Hungary. But just again, because we will be using these materials, I will talk about them. We sell cosplay materials, foam, foam clay, dowels, thermoplastics, paint and glues. What these things are, you will discover very, very soon. But we also guide cosplayers and crafters. So imagine you get inspired and you want to make something at home and you're like, oh wait, I don't know how to start on this, I don't remember how to do this. You can send me or them, probably I will reply still as well, a message and we will actually help you. We also have videos. We have a YouTube channel called cosplayshop.be with a lot of tutorials. But what I also want to say is, did you know the materials you will be touching in a few moments are also used by Marvel and by Dune, the movie Dune, which is, by the way, recorded in this building, actually, that movie. It's recorded in Hungary, so that's really cool. We also sell to theater plays, and our team sometimes makes props and armors for other people as well. Like Sky Shark and Miss Fane, a good friend of the cosplay shop, they made an armor for PewDiePie. And also, if you're in Belgium, feel free to visit us. Like, you can visit us, touch all the materials, look around, look at all the cool stuff we have there. Actually, I have a little video, the first video. It's a little video to show you what the shop looks like inside. Because it's like a very, very magical place for cosplayers. As you see, we even have like a Fallout door. It's bugging, I think. It's fine, we can skip the video then. It's okay, we can skip it, it's fine. Okay, so the table of contents, what will I be talking about? It is a 2025 edition, I promise, it's a typo. We will talking about foam, the magic of foam. What is EVA foam? I'm pretty sure like a lot of people already have seen foam, but how do you make a foam sheet into a costume? Then, using foam in 3 easy steps, because no matter what you do, if you make a prop, an armor or anything, there's always 3 steps that return. Then I will yap a little bit about paint, and then it's action time, where you will get to create something yourselves as well with foam clay, depending on the free time as well, else you can just take it home and continue there. So before I start, a little warning about safety. When you're sanding foam, you need a respirator. You want to make sure your lungs don't get damaged. When you're painting, you can use gloves or anything, like read the labels as well. Working with foam generally isn't toxic at all. It's when you start using power tools. But something I want to say, though, is when I'm painting, I drink a lot of tea. You can see where this is going. I was painting, and I drank my paint water and put my paintbrush in the tea. And I drank the paint water. It's disgusting. Don't do that. Like, make sure you're actually drinking your tea and not the paint water. But I'm still alive, so that's good news. So what is foam? I have some foam samples. I will give it around. You can give it to the next person. And I really want you to feel the foam, because this is your opportunity to feel it. Because there's like different densities, thicknesses, and it's all great to see it online. But actually to feel it in person is the most interesting thing. So I want you to bend it around and try to feel the differences between the different colors as well. That's very important. There we go. So you can like move it around a little bit and check how it feels. So different thicknesses, different densities. What it is, I will explain in the next slides. But let me tell you, foam is pretty cheap. Now you might think, cosplay and cheap? Whoa, like that's not true. It is true because if you compare it to other materials, like for example, thermoplastics like Warbler or something, Warbler is so much more expensive. Even 3D printing, if you want to make like a huge armor from foam, it will still cost a bit, but if you 3D print the whole thing, it will cost even much more. It's also very lightweight. You will feel how light it is. It doesn't weigh anything almost. Like when you have a big armor, you don't want to have like 10 kilograms on your shoulder and walk around like this the whole day. It's also flexible but strong. Like you can flex it, you can feel it, and it won't break. It's also very versatile. There's another video. I hope this one will work. It's a video where I made a chainsaw from foam completely. Even the gears are from foam. Yes, this one works. As you see, this is all foam. There is like no 3D printing, no other things like that. It's just foam and a motor. I cut out all the links out of foam. I used some simple toothpicks. I press them to the foam, as you can see. Then I repeat this until I started crying because this takes actually a very long time. So yeah, you continue, you continue. The reason why I use the toothpicks is so the individual links, they can like rotate on themselves. Else you would have one stiff thing. As you see, like this. So it's completely flexible. And then I just add gears. Again, gears from foam, not from wood or something else, just foam gears. Like just a shape cut out of foam. I attach a motor to one of the gears. I attach a chain, and that's it. That's how easy it is to make a chainsaw out of EVA foam. There we go. And now you might think like, won't the foam get stretched? No, because I used ultra high density foam. What it is again, you will see in the next slides. But what I want to say with this is foam is not just a hammer or a sword or an armor piece. You can do so much with EVA foam. Like there's endless possibilities. It's versatile. Also, another reason why I used foam is, if you know Chainsaw Man, he has a chainsaw coming from his forehead. I do not want anything really sharp or like any plastics at my forehead rotating, you know. And foam is perfect for that because it's like very soft. So I talked about thicknesses. What thickness should you use for what? This is mostly in my opinion. It doesn't mean that you can use the other thicknesses for other things, but this is the guidelines that I give. 2 millimeters is perfect for layers and details. Like if you have an armor and you have like these tiny details, 2 millimeters is perfect for it. 5 to 7 is perfect for the base of your armor, especially 5. I prefer 5. Then you have 7 to 10, it's like for props, big armors, big details. You know, like those Warhammer guys, they are much better off with like 10 millimeters than 5 millimeters. And anything bigger than that is basically for props. Then you have different densities. This is low and high density. Basically, low density is a bit weaker, but it's more flexible. While the high density is a bit more stiff, but stronger. So what would you use for when? The low density is perfect for complex shapes. If you have horns or something like that, like special curves, like high density would be a lot harder to make horns from. Also fitted armor, like Lord of the Rings elves, they have like very fitted armor to their bodies. Low density is better for that. Also organic shapes like skulls and things like that. High density, much better for light and medium armor. Also heavy armor and props. Some examples, like I said, there is no bad foam, but one might make your life a whole lot easier. So imagine you want to create like horns, and all you have at home is high density, and you're like, oh no, this guy said on the stage that you should use low density. Yes, but if you have high density, you can still use high density, you know, it will just be a little bit harder. A perfect example, the Mandalorian. As you see, he has very straight shapes, not like organic shapes, anything. Yes, he has like not elbow, but shoulder pads that are round, but that's still like a very flat shape. You can use high density for that. It's perfect for that. While the other one, the June one, and that's also what June ordered, is low density. Why? Because you see, it's like stuck to the body. It's like the still suit, you can see. It's like very, very shaped to the body. So that's a perfect example for low density. But there is another, the ultra high density, the one I used for my chainsaw. You can feel it. That one is actually pretty strong. It's perfect for small props. And if you make small props, you don't need internal support. Like, of course, if you build a big sword, you will still need some support inside. What is the support? It's like a little rod, like a metal rod, a fiberglass rod, a wooden rod, because else you have a floppy sword. And we don't want floppy swords, you know, they look a bit ridiculous. So for small props, you don't need an inside core. Also for things that require extra strength, reinforcement, durability, stability, ultra high is perfect for that as well. I sometimes use it in the inside of my armor to protect seams a little bit better. There's also LED foam. Let me show you what LED foam does, but the name is pretty much a spoiler already. But let me show you. So this is LED foam. And let me take my phone and put my light on. As you can see, the light passes through. And the closer you go, the less diffused. The further you go, the more diffused. You can also change the diffusion by having thicker and thinner foam. It's the same as moving your light source away. So yeah, it's really great for special effects. Like, look at these blades that Kami made. On the top image, it already looks good, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But look how it looks with lights inside. Like, that's insane. Like, if you join a contest and you have the upper props without the lights, it's already great. But if you can show that you also have lights and you're on the stage and those props lights up, that's great. So you would use it for that. Now, there is one disadvantage. It's a pain to paint it. It's a real pain. Because if you use a brush, you get brush strokes, and then you put light behind it, the strokes will be more visible. Later in this panel, I have tips to avoid brush strokes, but that's something to consider. So if you have it, you can use an airbrush, because then there's no strokes. If you don't have an airbrush, use a sponge. Why? Because if you paint with a sponge, you dab it on, and you don't get strokes. You just get like tiny dots, and when there's light behind, they're not as visible. Either way, whatever you do, use thin layers, because if you use too much paint, it's harder to remove paint than adding more paint. Another thing is foam dowels. They're time savers. You can say, like, I can buy a foam sheet, cut it out, and I have a dowel as well. Have you ever tried sanding something round? It is so hard. Like, you sand something round, and you have like a perfect half-round circle, and I'm like, yay, this is going good. But then you have to sand the other side, and it's like trying to draw two eyebrows. Like, it never works. So you have one good side, one less good side, so you sand the other side, and you just keep sanding, and you end up with nothing and time wasted. So you can just buy dowels then. Also, a little trick, you can even make chains from dowels. Just glue them together, and you have a very good-looking chain. Foam dowels, like companies like Blizzard and stuff, they love to have like these triangle edges on armor. Like, they love to put it there. Again, you could cut it out of a sheet, but I recommend to just buy a bevel and you can glue it on and you have like the perfect edge already without having to do anything. Again, the PewDiePie armor that my team made, they had only a few days to make this armor, like only a few days. And as you know, like samurai armor, like if you see foam, and you cut it out, it's like a straight edge. But samurai armor doesn't have straight edges. They're like round, half round. So what they did is, instead of sanding all the edges and spending hours and hours and hours just sanding, they just glued half-round dowels to the edge. And this way, you have the perfect half-round edge without any effort, like in 5 minutes. You can do this just by gluing it on instead of sanding. So that's a great tip as well. So there's also foam scales, blocks, spheres, spikes, whatevers. Like, what I want to say is, if you have to do something like 1,000 times, maybe it's better to buy it already pre-cut. Like, we have scales as well. You can also use maker spaces. I'm sure Budapest has like a maker space or a university where you can use like a laser cutter. So if you have a special shape of scale, it's better to just go ask them if you can use a laser cutter. Usually they allow it for like a small fee and just do it like that. Because else you're just spending weeks cutting, you know? And by the end, you've cut everything, you already lost interest in the project. So it's a very good idea to just get that done by machine. Enough about foam. We know what foam is now, but how do you use foam? In my opinion, there's always 3 steps that return. What those 3 steps are, you will discover. But first, you need some tools. You need a knife, knife sharpener, some glue, a Sharpie. That's the cheap stuff. Most people have this already. But the more expensive stuff is a Dremel and a heat gun. You will see what those tools do, and yes, you will need them. But first of all, cutting. Cutting EVA foam. What type of knife should I use? Because I look online, I see Kami use like a box cutter, someone else use like a hobby knife, someone else use like some other blade. It doesn't matter, in my opinion. It doesn't matter. Use what you're comfortable with, as long as it's sharp. Like if you want to use even like a machete or a katana, go for it. Just make sure it's sharp. To keep it sharp, use a sharpener. You can steal one from the kitchen. Just make sure no one sees it and you can steal it. And every few cuts, like every 10 cuts, you can just go over the sharpening stone like 1 or 2 times and you have a perfect blade again. Also, how to cut comes with experience. I do have some tips, but I cannot teach you how to cut. It comes with experience. It's a very natural thing. But there's some things you need to take in mind. Never saw. So when you cut, never do this. It happens a lot actually, because then you get like very bad edges. And those are hard to glue. It's not the end of the world. You can Dremel them flat, but that's again extra work. We don't want that. We want to move on with the project, obviously. Also, always have a fluid motion. So always like have a nice motion. And do not tilt your blade. That's maybe the most important one. Because when I give workshops with blades, I'm not allowed to give you blades here because you might start stabbing each other or something. I do understand. So do not tilt your blade. When I give workshops, people, when they cut, they hold their blade like this. And that's an angle. That's not straight. I think it's because when you write with a pen, you don't hold your pen like straight like this. You also hold it at an angle, you know. So I think that's why people also hold a blade at an angle. But what happens if you cut foam at an angle, then all your cuts have this tiny angle. And when you want to glue them together, that angle will decide how the foam is being glued. And sometimes you don't want that angle. So it's a good thing to just keep your blade straight. And again, a sharp blade, because unsharp blades, you will have these edges. Step 2 is gluing. What glue do I use? Contact glue. Contact glue is a little bit special. It's perfect for big surfaces and it gives the strongest bond. But why it is special is you put glue on both sides. Like with super glue, you just put a little bit of glue, you press it together and it sticks together. With contact glue, you put glue on one side, glue on the other side, you wait a few minutes and then you press it together. And it is such a strong bond. It's one of the strongest bonds you can make on foam. Because when you rip it apart and you did everything properly, there's a big chance you rip the foam apart instead of the glue. So that's how strong it is. You can separate it with like acetone and chemicals, but it's better to not use chemicals, you know. So make sure when you glue it together that you're not gluing it upside down or inside out or something. Just check twice that you're gluing it right. Because there's no room for mistakes. Like if there is a mistake, you can fix it, but it's such a pain. I also still use super glue, even hot glue I still use as well, like if I want some welding seams or something, or on the inside. There's a little trick for gluing, because when you buy contact glue, a lot of times you get like a can. That's not always useful, because when you open the can, the glue inside starts to dry out. So you can get like a sauce bottle and pour the glue inside of the sauce bottle. Just make sure you remember that it's not a sauce and it's actually glue. Because I think that would be much, much worse than drinking paint water. You can also use like scrap EVA foam, like little scrap EVA foams, to spread open the glue. Step 3 is heating your foam. In my opinion, controversial opinion, is the most important step. You can do it after gluing for the best bond. Sometimes you need to do it before. Like if you have a horn or some very funky shape, you might want to shape it a little bit first. Don't use a hairdryer. Hairdryers don't get hot enough, not even nearly hot enough. Even broken hairdryers don't get hot enough. Also, don't use an oven or even a microwave. I've had mails, people saying like, oh, I put my foam in the microwave to heat it up faster and it didn't work. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. Don't do that. Do not skip this step. It's very important. Now, heating your foam. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What do you mean heating your foam? Why do I need to heat my foam? It's for a thing called heat shaping. It's because when you heat up foam and you bend it and it cools down, it will stay in a similar shape. Not exactly the same shape, but very similar to how you bend it. Why is that important? For example, here, the armor on the left, it looks pretty good, right? Doesn't look anything wrong with that, but the judges and like very experienced cosplayers, when you see this in person, you will see that there is something wrong. This armor goes like this, flat. It's like a Minecraft or like a Roblox guy, you know, it's flat. In real life, we're not flat, we're not squares. We have shapes on our body. And armor looks so much better when it's shaped to your body. So what would I recommend is, take the time, it doesn't take long, it takes just a minute, heat up your foam and bend it in the shape you want it. And as you see in the last image, it looks so much more elegant. It's so much better. And yes, like during contests, we see this kind of things. Like if the costume is shaped to your body or not. So that's why, in my opinion, this is one of the most important steps. Also, you get almost any shape. If you want the bowl, instead of like gluing 6, 7, 8 pieces together and getting like a round shape, you can just take the foam, press it in a bowl, or shape it on an anvil. And you will get a half round shape as well. Now, one thing is very important. Do not reheat the foam later, because if you do this, the shape might disappear. So that's something to take in mind, but it's much easier to do this than like having to glue like all the pieces together. Now there's some tricks you can use with heat as well. This time you can use an iron, only this time. Don't use it on the bare foam, but you can put aluminium foil on top of your foam, iron on top of it, and you will get a realistically looking leather effect without using any leather or even fake leather. So that's a really, really cool trick. I know it's a bit hard to see on the screen, but you see there's like this leather effects, like these tiny wrinkles. It's a really, really good effect. Step 2. You can press objects into foam. Even like this, these are like crappy 3D printed objects that I did, just to show you that you don't even need high quality things to press into there. You can use like very fast, you can even use rocks from outside. It doesn't have to be fancy. And when you heat up your foam and you, for example, roll it into there or press it into there, it will leave an imprint. Again, same remark as with making the half bowls. Don't heat up your foam later. Yes, you can go outside with it, and like usually the sun will not make the texture disappear, but don't use a heat gun on it. It's very important. Step 3 is using heat to open up cuts. You can engrave into foam. I sometimes see people using like wood burners or soldering irons to make like runes and everything. I don't like that technique. First of all, you need a hand, a steady hand like a surgeon to be able to pull it off, because else you have like tiny dots. And second of all, doing that releases gases, like really toxic gases. We don't want that. So what you can do instead is take a knife and cut into the foam. Not completely through the foam, but just into the foam, like halfway. Then use a heat gun, go over it, and you will see those cuts open up. And this way, you can have like really interesting patterns, really interesting runes and things like that, just with a knife and some heat. Now, all these steps I was talking about, you have to repeat them over and over and over again to make bigger things. One thing I want to say as well is split big projects. Because if you don't do this, you will get like overwhelmed and you end up procrastinating and not doing anything. Like it happens a lot. So if you're building like a big armor, instead of like already thinking, how am I going to do the shoes, how I'm going to do the legs and everything while you're building the helmet, don't do that. It's a bad idea. You will get overwhelmed. There's too many ideas floating around in your head and you will end up not doing it, you know? So what I did with this helmet, for example, I started on the bottom. Why the bottom? It's much harder to fix the bottom than the top of a helmet. So if you make a mistake, you can fix the top much easier than the bottom. So that's why I recommend to start with the bottom when you're making a helmet. Then I built like a little thing in the front, then I built a little roof on the head, and after that I started building more pieces, like the side pieces, more on the head, and only then at the entire end I added like the face. That was 3D printed, so that's a bit of cheating, but I wasn't thinking about how I will do the head yet when I was building the bottom part, so that's a big thing as well. Also, armor has layers like an onion, and it makes you cry as well. So, on the left, I could have stopped there, and actually many people stop there. Like, it sounds surprising, but when you look, a lot of people stop there, and they're like, oh yeah, there's tiny details, but I will paint them on. It's fine, I will paint them on. I would say, do it in 3D and then paint them on. Like, take the effort to cut out like all these tiny pieces of foam. It takes forever and you start crying because you're working till 4 AM because of course we procrastinated and the costume has to be ready in like a few weeks. So you're working till late at night and then glue on all the details and look what a difference it makes. Look at the left side and the right side just by having these details in 3D and not just painted on. Another example is the end braces I made. I started with just a base pattern. I just made a pattern on my arm, and I did not think about how I'm going to do these tiny runes, how am I going to do all these tiny things. I did not think about that. I just had a base pattern, and I built on top of that. Like, again, the onion, remember? Layers, layers, layers. So I started with a base pattern, I added the top thing, then I added some smaller details, and then only at the end, I added all the tiny details. So break down your prop or costume into small things and build on top of that. It's all about the details. Again, look at the difference. This is what Combi makes. And now this might sound extreme, and it is an extreme example. It doesn't happen that much, but sometimes people stop at the left side. Like, this is a very extreme example, of course. Like, again, don't do that. Like, take the time to analyze all the details and make them in 3D. Like, take the time to cut out a little bit of foam, shape the foam a little bit, and glue it on there. And you will see the end result is so much more impressive. Now, the final part of foam smithing, paint. Because paint is very, very important. You can craft the best costume ever, but if the paint job is not up to level, then the whole costume will be less good than it could have been. Otherwise as well, like if your craft is not the best, a really good paint job can really elevate what you made. A little example to show the effect of paint. This is how you can make quilted foam leather. So as you see, just from a sheet of foam, you can make this. I started with cutting lines, like I made a little diamond grid, as you see, cutting halfway through the foam. Remember the tip from earlier? Cutting halfway through the foam. And then I take the heat gun, and you see what happens? It's hard to see on the screen, but you see those lines appear. And then I bend it, and when it cools down, you see those little bends, they stay into the foam. And then I use some hot glue on the backside just for reinforcement. And then I slap on some brown paint, and there we go. You have a pretty realistically looking leather. So that's how simple this is. A lot with crafting is actually pretty straightforward and simple, but you need to know like these tiny techniques and tiny tricks, you know? A lot about crafting is knowing these things. I also love to make things shiny, as you can see. Like the axes and the on-shine costume I made, they're very shiny. How do I do this? First of all, you need to clean up your project. You need to be clean, because any imperfection will be accentuated when you make something shiny. So make sure all your details are done, because adding details later after everything is painted it's just hard. Like, it's just not a good idea. So double check that everything is done. Then heat seal. For small seams, you can use quick seal. What is this? You will see very soon. And big seams or imperfections, you can use foam clay and also a little bit of sanding. This is like a little overview of how you can clean it up. And now into bigger details, heat seal. I talked about heat seal. You take your heat gun and you just go over it, like not too slow, not too fast, and all the cells of the foam, they will close. And your paint will stick much better to it, but something even more important is, it's very hard to see on the screen again, but if you sand, again, sanding something around, fun, there is like a tiny line. You can see the red arrow. There is a tiny line when you send things sometimes. Doesn't always happen, but it is a very common thing. Stop sending. You don't need to go over it with like tiny grids and like higher grids and everything. You can just use a heat gun, go over it, and because the cells will shrink, that line will disappear as well. Really cool technique. Then clean up the quick seal I talked about. You don't have to use quick seal, by the way. Quick seal is just acrylic, like it's used in the bathrooms. You know, in the bathrooms you have like this white thing that like blocks water from going everywhere. It's that stuff. If you have it somewhere cheaper, you can just use the same stuff. So you have a little seam. Take a finger, wet your finger, and smear it open over the seam. It's that easy. Just make sure you smear it open really well. And then when you paint it, the seam disappears. Now you can say like, whoa, but this seam, like you can't see the seam. Trust me, you can see it after you paint. You can see it, definitely. Especially judges, they will immediately see this. Then I talked about foam clay. You will actually get some foam clay very soon to sculpt something. But you can also use foam clay to hide imperfections. Like if you have something like this, something very ugly, or like some cut you made by accident or something, or like your cat scratched into your foam or something, you know, or your dog was eating your foam, I don't know, like you can press foam clay into there and fill it up. You can also sand the foam clay afterwards to get a really, really smooth finish. And then you can still do some sandings, because sometimes, even if you do everything perfectly, you can have like this tiny, like, it's like some tiny frizz, you know, like it's like tiny pieces of foam. You can just wet sand them off, like just sand them, it takes a few minutes and they will be gone. But my secret to a perfect shine is this little tool here. It's a spray gun. Now, I will also explain later, like in the panel, how you can do it with a brush as well. So if you don't have a spray gun or you don't have this place for a spray gun, don't worry about it. There's also a trick for brushes as well. But if you do have the space and everything, the spray gun is my best purchase ever. It works like a big airbrush. It's not an airbrush, but it works like a big airbrush. And it's basically unlimited spray paint. And you have 0 brush marks. But it's a high cost of investment. You need a compressor, and I'm not talking about the small airbrush compressors, but a big compressor. You can get them second-hand though, which is much cheaper, but it saves you so much money like in the long run. Instead of like buying spray paints and everything, you can just pour in like acrylic paints or something, you know? You just have to make sure you thin it down to the consistency of milk, because anything thicker than milk, it will clog. So just thin it down. This is an example of a spray gun. That's insane. Because this is just black paint and then gold on top. Just one layer of spraying. One layer. And it's a cheap acrylic, I think, well, cheap. We used Amsterdam acrylics. So it's not like the most expensive acrylic or paint ever. It's just like that. So we just sprayed it on. And you see that effect just by spraying. Also, it doesn't take any time at all. And then I use some other paints to like shade it a bit more. You can also combine all those tricks I was talking about, all the cleaning up, the spraying and everything to make things like this. It is that easy, trust me. It might seem still like, whoa, no, I can't make this, but you can. You really can. You just have to start on it, use the tricks I gave you, watch some other tutorials online as well, educate yourself, and you can make this. So this is a shine of an even layer, but I cheated for this. I did not use acrylic paints for this, I used Alclad for this. Alclad is a lacquer, so it's much more expensive, but the effect is insane. Like if you clean up everything, you can even see yourself in your prop. So you can make like an X, bring it to the convention, and you can actually do your makeup in your own X. You know, it's like a mirror, so. Also the series sword, like it looks very realistic even when you weather it, because that sword is very heavily weathered. But you see, it still looks metallic. Okay, but I talked about sealing, priming, painting, whoa, 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 all these terms, like what do they mean? Like very cool tips you give, and what products do I use? First of all, sealing is sealing the surface pores to prepare them for paint. This makes sure that when you put the paint on top, it doesn't go inside of your foam, it goes on top. Because if it goes inside of your foam is just drinking the paint. That's not a good idea, because then you will need many, many layers. Priming is a base coat to better attach the paint itself to your sealer. And the painting is just adding a color. But what if I told you there is a product that can do all of this in one go? All of this in one go. Of course, if you need metallics, then you still need a metallic layer on top, of course. And what I would recommend is Cosplay primer and color. There's other things as well, like Flexi Paint, Hex Flex. But of course, I'm with the Cosplay shop and we use this. And it's also a paint that I developed, especially with everything I was talking in mind. It's non-toxic. Don't drink it though, a bad idea. Non-toxic doesn't mean you can drink it. It's safe to put your fingers in and everything, of course. It's fully flexible but amazingly strong. It actually adds strength to your costume. It's self-leveling as well, to a small extent. If you have like a little drop, it will level itself out. Not if you have a huge drop, it won't level out then, but like tiny things will level itself out. It dries in 30 minutes. But that's a bit of a trap as well, because 30 minutes is perfect to watch an episode of your favorite series or anime. And you know what happens? You watch an episode, ends in a cliffhanger, so what do? No, you don't put the second layer, you watch the next episode. And before you know it, it's bedtime and you just binged the show and you did not paint your costume. And then you have to stress because your costume is not done. And again, it's sealing, priming, and paint in one. But what if you only have a brush? You don't have an airbrush, you can't spray. How can I get a smooth paint effect with just a brush? Because it's possible as well. Because a brush, what is a brush made of? Hairs. What do humans use on their hair? Hairstyling products. What if I told you, sorry, funny enough, there was a hair in my mouth. What do humans use? Hairstyling products, but your brush is also hair. Because when you brush, if you look at a microscopic level, the reason you get strokes is because the hairs have like tiny holes between them, you know, the endings of the hairs, like they have tiny holes, and the streaks is paint that seeps through those tiny holes. So what is the goal? We want to make it as flat as possible by styling your brush with like a hairstyling product. I prefer to use clay. Like gels don't work as well in my opinion. And here is a video that you can see how to go from this to a very smooth effect. Oh, I forgot about this joke. That's not child friendly. You take some vinegar, some soap, some water, you mix that just to clean your brush. Because before you do anything, you need a clean brush. As you see, it's a clean brush now. Then I put hairstyling clay, yeah, literally. You put it on your brush and you see there's no gaps anymore between your brush. Then you clean it off and you see how straight that is? There's not like any gaps between them. And that's how you can get with a brush. You will still get strokes because you still use a brush, but you will minimize them so much. I invite you to try it actually at home, to try this, and you will see it does work. So yeah, I have another trick for weathering. Go outside. Oh my God, cosplay is going outside. Whoa, what do you mean cosplay is going outside? Yes, go outside. Why? Because, for example, wood, when I ask a cosplayer what color is wood, they say brown. No. Yes, but also no. Wood is not just brown. Wood is also blues, oranges, greens, blue. Wood has so many colors in it. So what I invite you to do is go outside and look at a tree. Crazy, right? Just stare at a tree and analyze the colors in them. Same with the metals. Look at metal. When I ask what color is metal, people say metal color, but metal color is not a color. Like there's blues as well in there, even purples and everything. So for example, this sword, when I made this, I started, the shield. When I started with this, I started with building the shield, and then a base coat of browns and oranges and yellows. And you can already see, look what a difference that make. If I would have just used brown, it would still look okay, but just by using oranges and yellows, you see like there is like, it's more interesting, you know, it looks more realistic. And then I added the other shadings and blah, blah, blah. For example, on the finished product, again, it's a bit hard to see on the screen, but you see, there's like this little blue shine, and there's even purples in there and reds, you see? And that makes a prop very realistically looking. So instead of using 3 colors, like get a lot of colors, mix them together as well and use them. Another bonus trick is how to repair damage in your costume. Because anyone who made an armor will have these wrinkles. They're the enemy of everyone who crafts. But what if I told you if you used proper paints, the issue is not your paint. It is the foam underneath. The paint is not destroyed. It's your foam that is wrinkled. And it's the most common damage. Everyone will get it. From transport, from wearing it and everything. But you can use your heat gun. Go over it slowly, but not too slow. Because if you go too slow, the paint might burn. So go over it. Not too slow, not too fast, and you will see all the wrinkles will disappear. It's that easy. Again, like I said, crafting is like a bunch of these tricks and tips. It's not that hard. You just need to know what you're doing. The last part is for you guys to make something with foam clay. You will sculpt something. But before that, I need to do a last 3 slides of yapping because I need to explain what foam clay is so no one gets hurt. I'm joking, you can't get hurt. Don't eat the foam clay though. Foam clay, the new gold. It's not that new anymore. It's already existing for like 5 years or something. But it's still gold. Why? In the past, when you wanted to make a skull like this, you had a block of foam and you had to grind it down, that block of foam. You had to sand it, which makes dust everywhere. And it's like a lot of work just to get a simple thing. What if now you can do the opposite? You can build up foam by using foam clay. It works like normal clay. It is not normal clay, but it works like normal clay, and it dries like normal foam. Not exactly normal foam, but like normal foam. It's also non-toxic and water-based. Again, doesn't mean you can eat it. I say this because I've given this panel before, and when I say non-toxic and water-based, someone was like licking their foam clay, and yeah, don't do that. But what I mean with that is you can use it on your hands, nothing will happen. If it is on your clothes, just put it in a washing machine and you will be fine. Also, it's very cheap. It sticks without glue to foam and some other materials, and it can be used in molds as well. Also multifunctional. You can make objects like horns, skulls, swirls, runes. Even details like for my chainsaw man, I use it to make gore because he has a chainsaw coming from his forehead, so you want some gore here. I just use a foam clay and like dabbed it on, and you get this effect. Welding seams, you can do so much with it. But like everything in life, it also has disadvantages. It's not entirely perfect. It cures pretty slow, 24 to 48 hours. 24 is okay. 48 hours is the best. Now, you will make something with foam clay as well, but because you work on a much smaller scale, it will dry much faster as well. It's just a guideline. But when you make something big or like make a whole costume, make sure you take that into account. So you can't use it the night before the event. Sorry, my voice is dying. Also, watch out with the heat gun. You can go over it with a heat gun, but it doesn't like heat that much. And also, if it doesn't stick to your foam, you can use little droplets of water to make it stick better. Not an entire bucket of water or not like a lot of water, but just tiny droplets. Let's try it. You will try it very soon. I'll just go to this slide because there's something important on this. This is the end of me yapping and talking. If you want this panel, you can send me a DM on Instagram at Captain Ghostly, and I will send the panel to you. Now, it might take some weeks, maybe even a month before I send the panels because there's a lot of messages in my requests, but I promise you, I will send this panel. So at home, you can go over all the slides again and like relearn what I was telling here. So I thank you very much for coming to my panel. I will give you the foam clay in a minute. My assistants will help as well. But before that, are there any questions? No questions? Sorry? Ah, thank you, thank you. Okay then, thank you very much for attending the panel. You will get some foam clay and you can make things like this from it. Like you can play around with this. I will be here as well still if you have some questions about it. Normally I have like tiny pots to put the foam clay in so it stays fresh. But sadly those pots were taken by airport security. So I don't have them with me. So I will give it here and sadly it will dry out by the time you're at home. But you can like, maybe if you have like a little plastic bag or something, you can put it in there and it might survive till home. And you can add some water at home to reactivate it as well. So, yeah. So, thank you very much for attending my panel. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you had fun. And I will give you the foam clay now. Thank you.